Hey y'all, it's great to be with you. I don't think I'll be able to see each and every one of you because we're in this webinar mode, but we'll let everybody join in. Althea is here, so we can actually get started now. As we're running through this conversation around goal setting and having a vision for your life, feel free to post any questions you have either in the Q&A or in the chat area, and we will be sure to capture those and get to those about halfway through. My goal is to get done with all of this in about 35 to 40 minutes. I know each and every one of you have families to get back to, things to get back to doing. You know, some of you need to go to sleep. Others of you need to still get in that workout. So we'll try to get this done in 35 or 40 minutes. But I'm willing to stay as long as people are getting value. So as long as there's value being received, we can hang out here all night. All right, let's get started. So first and foremost, thank you so much to each and every one of you for logging in and signing up. I'm so excited to be with you. I'm going to take you guys through a process that I was so fortunate to learn at 23. I'll take you a little bit through that story, and then we can dive into how to craft a perfect life for your vision. My goal is that you leave this webinar understanding how you can pave a path to whatever future you should choose. How you can live a life of choice, how you can live a life by design, and you can hold yourself accountable to doing the things you set out to do. So it was about 10 years ago now. I was 23 years old, and I was working for this guy named Pat Hyben. Pat came up to me and said, "Hey, you're going to go to this class today." My eyes rolled back into my head, and I kind of yawned and said, "You know, Pat, I already dropped out of college once. Like, I'm not really fit for school. Are you sure I need to go to class?" He said, "Just trust me, you're going to go learn from this guy named David Osborne. He's one of my really good friends, and he's an incredible speaker, entrepreneur, visionary, and you're gonna learn about goal setting." It's like, man, dude, I was a competitive athlete. I knew what I was doing growing up. I don't necessarily know that I need to learn about goal setting, but sure, if you think it's worth it for me to go, I'm there. And so at 23 years old, I was a little judgmental. I had a closed mind. I had a fixed mindset. I didn't think that there was another way. I didn't think that there was other possibilities out there. I thought, of course, like all 23-year-olds do, I knew everything there was to know about life. So I go to this class and I sit in this room, and this incredible guy named David Osborne starts talking. Now, for those of you who know David, he's brilliant, he's amazing, but he's got a little bit of a quirkiness to him. So he's got some quirky tendencies. So he's up there speaking, and he's got a purple journal tucked into the belt of his pants with his shirt tucked in. And I'm sitting there kind of going, what did I sign up for today? Who is this man? And as I sat there and took notes and pondered about my future as he asked the questions, he flashed this thing across the screen, and it was a vision board for his life. And he went on to talk about how this was his vision board, and there was a beautiful family overlooking a lake in Austin, how there was a beautiful airplane, a place for contribution, a place for commercial real estate, a place for business, a place for family. And then he quickly sped on to the next slide. And I remember it vividly. Vlad Katz raises his hand and says, wait. Why was that your vision board? And David paused, clicked back on the slide, and said, oh, because all of this stuff in this has already come true, so my wife is making me a new one. In that moment, it hit me like a ton of bricks that if I bought a purple journal, if I had a vision for my life, and if I began to set goals, life would start to happen for me, not to me. I remember getting home, I still to this day have that journal, and telling my girlfriend at the time, who's not my wife, like, I've learned the formula that I think will change our destiny. I just need to sit down and write my vision. I'm going to take you guys through the process I learned that day. I'm going to take you through the process that I've been implementing in my life over the last 10 years. And I'm going to take you through the process, excuse me, that I've seen incredible entrepreneurs like David Osborne, Pat Hyben, people like Aaron West, even incredible people like Althea Osborne. They've used these systems, they've used these tools to achieve and amass success inside of their life. Now, success isn't always money. Success can be freedom. Success can be health. Success can be time with family, time with loved ones, contribution inside of your community. Each and every one of you have the ability to design and craft what success looks like for you. And the beautiful part about this journey is you start with a blank canvas. All of the stuff you've experienced in your life will be a part of the story, but from today forward, you have the ability to write whatever script you should choose. So I'm going to encourage each and every one of you to get out a pen, get out a piece of paper, take some notes, but I'm also going to give you some homework while we're working through this. Now, my team is going to share some of the tools and documents inside of the Q&A and inside of the chat, and then we'll follow up with an email tomorrow with all the tools and the resources. But as we're going through this, don't be afraid to participate. Don't be afraid to be jotting this down. Don't be afraid to tune me out for a second so you can think about a thought I've shared. So the first thing each and every one of us has to do is we have to understand why. Why are we setting out to do what we want to do? So many of us are chasing things. So many of us are chasing objects. So many of us are chasing money. But my question to you is why? So if I were in your shoes, and just like I was 10 years ago, I would write across the piece of paper why. Like, what is this all for? Now, I can tell you my why. I want the freedom to choose what I want, when I want, with whom I want, wherever I want. And for me, building a life of health, wealth, abundance, contribution, family, friends, all of those things are going to play into that why for me. So in 20 years, if I'm sitting on a beach sipping a Mai Tai, which I don't even like, candidly, and have my feet up on a lawn chair, looking out at the ocean, if I'm living a life of choice, living a life of freedom, I can look back and say, wow, we've achieved success. We really made it. Because for me, my why is having the ability to tell my kids, we're going to go here, we're going to go there, we're going to do this, and not necessarily be tied down to a job, not necessarily be tied down to an opportunity. So you're going to start with your why. Why are you doing what you want to do? The next thing you're going to do is we're going to do that process we all learned in high school. Some of us, like myself, are college dropouts. I don't know if there's a more sophisticated process in college, but I learned this process in high school. When you're writing a 5-paragraph essay, you create a mind map. In the middle of your mind map, you're going to write the year. So 5 years from today will be 2028. If you want to start this vision January 1st, 2024, the year is January 1st, 2029. You're going to start in that center with your year. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make branches off of that as we start to build our mind map. So think about in high school, as you wrote the 5-paragraph essay, each paragraph had its own sort of bubble and then bullet points underneath it. You're going to do the exact same thing for your 5-year vision. You're going to take your health, you're going to put a bubble up into the left, and you're going to write down what you want to achieve inside of the health in the next 5 years. Maybe you've completed 10 marathons. Maybe your body fat's 12%. Maybe you do yoga 5 times a week still to this day. Maybe you love going for walks with your children who are also healthy just like you. Maybe you're seeing a concierge doctor. Whatever you could possibly think of for your life to feel beautiful, feel fulfilled in 5 years, what has to happen in the garden of health? And you can just make it a bulleted list for now. Now you're going to do the same thing under relationships, family, and friends. So we're happily married, celebrating our 12th anniversary. My daughter will be 9. My son will be 7. The dog, unfortunately, will probably be dead, but let's say she lives to 12. That would be amazing, right? So I can get so particular with my 5-year vision, and I jot all of this down in bullet points. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take it and craft a story. But to start, we have our mind map. We have the health garden. We have the relationships, family, friends garden. We have the spiritual and contribution garden. Are you going to church? Are you not a church goer but believe more in the universe? Are you reading spiritual books? Are you giving to your community? Are you serving at the soup kitchen? Are you giving back with your children if you have them? Like, what does your life look like spiritually and contribution-wise 5 years from now? Again, bulleted points. Then you're going to go into the intellectual education, personal development section. Are you reading books? Did you write a book? Are you attending seminars? Are you speaking? What does life look like for you in that garden? How about lifestyle and adventure? Are you traveling around the world? Are you going to a different country every year? Are you knocking off the 50th of 50 states that you visited on foot, driving in a vehicle? Like, what does life have to happen in the next 5 years for you to be able to look back and go, wow, the last 5 years have been beautiful? And then you're going to end with sort of personal and financial. So what has to happen financially for you in the next 5 years? Once you have this bulleted list, now we get to have some fun. Now we get to craft a story. Now we get to make a Disney or a Pixar film of our life. And the more vivid you are with it, the more real you are, the more you're going to program your subconscious mind, that what I set out to achieve, I achieve. And you're going to start planting those seeds. So you see, everybody has a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the mind that is constantly thinking those millions of thoughts every single second, but you're not necessarily acting on them. Okay, I'm breathing right now, I'm speaking right now, I'm walking right now, I'm, washing my hands, and I'm thinking through what I'm going to do next. The subconscious mind is like a supercomputer. It's moving at 1,000,000 beats per second. It's constantly in action. And we're not necessarily always in tune with it. We're not necessarily always aware of it. Then we all have our conscious mind. The conscious mind is, I want an Oreo. Let me walk and get an Oreo, right? The conscious mind is, I don't feel like working out today. Okay, we're not going to work out today. So you have a conscious mind and you have a subconscious mind. Each and every one of us have those. And what we're trying to do with this 5-year vision is we're trying to program our subconscious mind that what we set out to achieve, we achieve. Let me say that again. We're trying to program our subconscious mind that what we set out to achieve, we achieve. There we go. The computer is super blurry for some reason. So you're going to take this 5-year vision and you're going to craft a beautiful story. Again, think about that Disney movie you love. So my 5-year vision starts, wow, the last 5 years have been magical. Melissa and I are celebrating our 11th wedding anniversary. Who would have thought life would go by so fast? Ryland's playing in the playroom right now and she's 9. It's amazing to see how she's reading chapter books from cover to cover in just a week's time, all while still being super active, loving tennis, loving playing with her friends and her family, and most importantly, taking good care of her siblings. Bodie, holy cow, is that boy crazy. He's 7. He's constantly got mud on himself and he's constantly making a mess. But he's got a beautiful heart, a beautiful soul, and he loves to play sports. There's nothing better than when I get home on a Friday and he says, Dad, can we go play soccer in the yard? I'll remember these memories forever. So you get super, super clear, because what we're going to do as a part of our goals is we're going to read this 5-year vision a certain amount of times each year. Again, we're programming our subconscious mind. This is the life we're seeking. This is the life we're going to have. How many of you have sat in your life and thought or contemplated at some point, I think I'm going to get a new car? Or better yet, I think I like the Tesla. The Tesla looks pretty cool. And all of a sudden, all you see on the road is Teslas. You just see Teslas everywhere. That is not because the marketing department in Tesla has gotten so good to understand that you really want a Tesla, so we're going to plant a bunch around you on the highway. Now, that technology may be coming. It's not here yet. But your reticular activating system, your subconscious mind, is starting to process and program. There's a Tesla. There's a Tesla. Ooh, I like black. I don't like red. The white one's kind of ugly, but the silver one looks pretty cool. The Tesla truck, that's ugly, right? All of that stuff is in your subconscious mind. It's your reticular activating system starting to pick things up, and it's you starting to become aware of your surroundings and what's going on in your world. The 5-year vision that you're going to write is going to do the same thing. Again, you want to get very clear in all of the gardens of your life. My net worth is X. I have how many doors? I own how many businesses? Our passive income is what? Our financial freedom percentage. So what we make passively exceeds our expenses by how much percent? You can get as beautiful as you want in this story. This is your life to create. This is your life to craft. My only warning to y'all is be careful what you write down, because it will come true. So I have still to this day, the 5-year vision from 5 years ago is actually coming up here in 3 months on my phone that I read consistently 25 times a year. And that 5-year vision talks about how our firstborn was going to be a girl and our secondborn was going to be a son. But it didn't originally say that. It originally said, wow, Charlie is 5. And it was all gender neutral names. And all of a sudden we had a baby girl. So I went into my 5-year vision and I changed it. I said, Rylan is now. And as I sat there and pondered and remembered that I was the last king in the King family that could carry on our name, and the amount of pressure my dad had put on me growing up that I was the last boy, I went back into my 5-year vision and I gave that second child a boy's name. I said, wow, he's amazing. 2 years after Rylan was born, Bodie was born, a little boy. Again, could be true, unrelated, but I'm telling you right now, when you have a vision for your life, the world works in mysterious ways for you. God, the universe, energy, whatever you choose to believe in, goes to work for you and will come to your aid. So you're going to start with this beautiful 5-year vision. You're going to craft it. Then if you want to get extra credit in this program of crafting a big life, let me share my screen with y'all real quick. You can go on Upwork and you can create a vision board for your life. So I spent $300 to have this vision board built for me for my life. Somebody in Lithuania or Ukraine or one of those countries volunteered or offered to make this vision board for me for $300. Now I then went to the next step, and once it was crafted, I had it turned into one of those metal prints, and now I hang this above my dresser. So every single morning when I put on my socks or I put on my underwear, I get to program my subconscious mind. I get to tell my reticular activating system, this is the life we're going for, don't forget it. And I get to look at this. I get to look at this beautiful family down here with 2 dogs. I don't know that we're going to have 2, but we're certainly at 1 so far. I'd love to adopt a child, so I wanted to make that a part of the image. I wanted our kids to have a chicken coop, so I made that a part of the image. My wife loves to bake, so I thought, well, that'd be cool to own a bakery someday. I don't want to be there every day, but it'd be fun to own. Let's put that on there. I've always been obsessed with car washes. We put that on there. I've got this concept to compete with Buc-ee's. Any of you in Texas understand what Buc-ee's is? I've got this concept to compete with Buc-ee's. Well, that'd be cool if that was finally rolled out. Let's put that on here. Owning multifamily, that'd be fun. Having a beautiful lake house, sure, that'd be cool. What about Skunk Works, the Lockheed Martin project where they created the fighter jets, where they put a bunch of really bright minds in the room and said, hey, let's go solve this problem. Well, wouldn't it be cool to own an office that was a Skunk Works where you brought a bunch of bright minds into the same room and just solved really cool problems? So I put that on here. You know, having some sort of silos, that would be fun. Like, you know, so I just got very creative with my 5-year vision, and I wanted it to look like a mind map for my life. I wanted it to look like a Disney map. I wanted to be able to program my mind, this is the life we're going to chase. And I printed it out. I put it above my dresser. It's not expensive. It's very easy, but it's intentional. And life is all about living with intentionality. Now, once we have our vision, now we can start to have some fun and reverse engineer it and think through, what do we need to accomplish this year in order to help us get that life in 5 years? So where do we need to go this year from January 1st of 2024 to January 1st of 2025? What needs to happen inside of our lives in order to have this be our vision and us marching towards our vision? And now we get to have some fun and reverse engineer it. So I have this goal setting template that, again, like, I don't do anything myself. I'm really, really, really good at R&D. And for most people, that means research and development. But for the college dropout that I am, it means rip off and duplicate. I am constantly looking at what successful people or mentors or peers or people I look up to in certain spaces are doing. And I'm constantly asking myself, if it worked for them, why wouldn't it work for me? And I'm applying it to my life. I'm trying it on. I'm seeing if it works. And if it works, I keep it. And if it doesn't, I throw it out. Now, I also have gotten really creative in that I don't like living a year from January to January. And the reason why is so many people are sleepwalking through life right now. That lull from Christmas Eve to New Year's Day is very awkward. I'll pick up that workout next week. Oh, I'll stop eating this really good Christmas crack my wife makes next week. Oh, I'll stop doing that next week. I don't want to live that life. So I live my life from December 1st to December 1st, because I now have this story in my head, which I know is delusional. You don't have to remind me, but I have this story in my head that I now have 13 months to everybody else's 12. And I am constantly trying to look for ways where heads I win, tails they lose. I want to stack the deck in my favor. Life's hard enough. I don't need to stack the odds against me. I need to stack the chips on my side of the table and best set myself up for success. And I am constantly looking for little hacks on how to do that. I'm always looking for a little trick. So if you looked at my goals, you would see that I've already accomplished a bunch of stuff this year. This is 2024 targets. And you'd say, Matt, how is that possible? Again, I start my year in December. So you're going to have gardens, and I will absolutely share this template. We're going to post it in the chat if we can figure out the chat or the Q&A, and then we're absolutely going to send this tomorrow in an email. But you're going to get this goal template. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my goals with you. I'm going to be super vulnerable. I'm going to be super transparent because the people that took me through this process did that exact same thing. And that's how I learned. I saw what they were doing and I learned from what they were doing. So you're going to be able to see my screen now. So you're going to have different gardens of your life. You're going to start with your relationship, your family, your friends. Now, for me, just like David said when I was learning from him, this is an area where I'm not necessarily always the best. I'm really good at working, but I'm not always really good at pausing and making sure my beautiful, amazing wife feels loved and appreciated and admired. So I put relationship, family, friends at the top of my gardens. That's the one I want to focus on the most. And you'll see I have no more than 10 goals in each of the gardens. The ones that I want to focus on the most, generally speaking, have the most amount of goals. Now, when you're setting goals, the one thing you need to be careful about is you need to understand the difference between an intention and a goal. An intention is I want to lose weight. An intention is I want to get healthier. An intention is what that end result will probably look like. A goal is I need to weigh X. My body fat needs to be Y. I need to do 285 workouts this year in order to achieve that six-pack that I set out to achieve. So what you need to constantly be doing is setting yourself up with goals. Goals are trackable, they're measurable, they're attainable. And again, they're time-bound, right? Which we have, these are annual goals. So the one thing I would encourage you all to do is not set a goal of pray every day. And it's not because praying every day is bad. It's because we are trying to program our subconscious mind that what we put on this piece of paper, we achieve. And if we write pray every day, and heaven forbid we get COVID or our airplane gets stuck and we're stranded somewhere, or something bad happens, and we miss praying that day, by definition of your goal, you have now failed for the entire year. And what that tells your subconscious mind is what we write on this piece of paper doesn't necessarily matter. So even though I work out darn near every single day, I still don't write 365 workouts because I understand I'm going to get sick. My children are going to get sick. I'm going to have a trip. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. And so I'm like, well, what if I worked out 285 times this year? Well, that would be cool. And guess what? If November 1st, I'm at 250, that means 5 of the days in November, I'm doing 2-a-days because I got to get 35 workouts in the month of November to complete that 285 for my year. What I'm doing is I'm allowing life to happen. I'm creating some viscosity in the system so that I can fail on a day, but not fail on a year. You see, the only difference between a rut and a grave is how long you choose to lay there. And I set my goals and my intentions up so that when I see a rut, I can pop out of it very easily. So you'll see all of my goals have numbers on them. You know, blood draw 3 times, 86-hour fast 4 times, 150 saunas, 150 cold plunges. Like, I'm putting a number on it. And what I'm doing with this sheet that you see here on my computer is I'm then printing it off and I'm acting like I'm 5 again with arts and crafts, scissors and glue sticks, and I'm gluing it into the back of my journal, which I take everywhere with me. And I'm engaging with my goals. I'm putting tally marks next to my goals as I accomplish them because I'm looking for that little hit of dopamine, just like we get when we pick up our phones in the morning, for my goals. Because again, I understand that I have the ability to find the way or make the way to achieve the life I set out to achieve. And the way I do it is through my roadmap, which is my goals. And at the end of the day, if I'm accomplishing these goals, I know that I'm going to be on the mission towards my 5-year vision, that 10-year vision. I even have a 25-year vision. I know I will be marching towards that because I've reverse engineered my goals to help me hit that process. So the other trick I'll tell you all is you don't have to do these things one at a time. There's this concept called habit stacking, and if you take that same concept and you call it goal stacking, you can do 2 goals at the same time and accomplish 2 things at once. What I mean by that is my wife and I have gotten really into working out this year. Like, we've gotten very focused on our health and our longevity. One of the things that we read a lot about was red light therapy. Well, the beautiful part about red light therapy is you're supposed to just stand there and look at a red light panel for 20 minutes. Who's got time to stand in a red light panel for 20 minutes and just waste life away? So I started looking up like working out in front of a red light panel. Like, what other options do I have, right? I didn't like the red light panel saunas because they didn't get hot enough, but I was like, what else do I have? So I was able to find a red light panel that comes on a stand with wheels. And we put that next to the treadmill. We turn it on for 20 minutes and then we run. Now we are accomplishing our workout while we're accomplishing our red light therapy. We're habit stacking, we're goal stacking, we're setting the odds in our favor so that we can set ourselves up for success, ultimately, which will train that subconscious mind of yours. So you don't have to do these things one at a time. For instance, when I'm in the sauna, that's often a time where I'll meditate. So you'll see I have meditate 100 times on here. Well, if I have 150 sauna sessions, that means 2/3 of the time I'm in the sauna. If I meditate, I will accomplish both of those goals. Again, the red light therapy and the workouts is another one. I have on my goals 70 rounds of golf a year. I also have 10 rounds of golf with dad. So when I play golf with my dad, I'm also accomplishing one of those 70 rounds. One day, one thing, 2 check marks. Like it's the most fulfilling thing in my life to get a double check from one activity. And so you want to set goals for your life. You want to have a crystal clear plan for what you want to accomplish in 2024. Now, you want to also be sensitive that like there's this concept of couch to 5K. There's not many couch to marathons. If you haven't set goals, please do not feel overwhelmed when you look at this. Like this is 10 years in the making. And if I go back and show you my journal from 10 years ago, you'd be like, oh, that's more of what I would probably feel like I'd be writing right now. You want to make sure that you set yourself up for success. If you're not working out at all, the worst thing you can do is write 285 workouts, miss the entire month of January, and all of a sudden be like, oh no, now I've got to basically work out every day the rest of the year. That's not going to happen. If you're not working out at all, could you do 20 workouts this year? How about 40? There's 52 weeks in a year. Could you do 1 a week? Well, heck, you might get sick. So why don't you just put 50 workouts this year? Again, I am trying to teach you how to program your subconscious mind, because once you do that, life becomes limitless and then things get really fun. So you set goals. You have a plan for your life. You go to church 24 times with your family. You post your family values in each of the rooms. One of my favorite goals that I learned from David is review your goals. Now, he said review your goals 50 times. Again, 52 weeks in a year. If I review these once a week, I'm going to be engaging with my goals, which is going to better set me up for success. I sat there and said, well, if it worked for him at 50, then I bet it would work really well for me at 100. And so I said, review my goals 100 times. And guess what? It worked really well for me. Last year, I had the target of hitting 85% goal completion right here. I fell a little bit short. I was at 84.3 to be specific. Now this year, I'm like, well, that was really a beautiful life. Last year was amazing. We had a lot of fun. It was awesome. It was really fulfilling. Health got in check. Like, that's great. Family time, awesome. But I was like, what would that extra 5.7% feel like? It'd be fun to see. So what if a goal was to achieve 90% goal completion? Again, that's almost an intention, but now I can make it a part of my goals, because I'm trying to set goals that help hold me accountable to living this plan, living this life. You'll see many goals in here. Reading books, reading my 5-year vision 50 times, my 25-year vision 12 times, have 3 killer keynotes prepared, publish my book, a one-on-one dad-daughter trip with Rylan, a one-on-one dad-son trip with Bodie, 6 overnight dates with Melissa, 24 dates with Melissa, a family trip with my side of the family, a family trip with her side of the family. You know, what about environment and tribe? Having my family spend 4+ weeks in Wisconsin every summer. You know, having Melissa, who's, you know, my ride or die, making sure she's pouring into herself. So my goal is to make sure she goes to a retreat this year. I want her to go to a retreat. Now, if you looked at my goals, you would see we already accomplished this one. Our house was just mold tested last week. We heard a neighbor that said they had a really bad mold. They had to move out. Everybody got sick. Paranoia kicked in. I said to Melissa, let's get our house mold tested. We called, well, actually, I got really lucky. I was doing a presentation similar to this for a GoBundance member. And he texted me after and said, hey, man, thank you so much for your time. I saw one of your goals was to have your house mold tested. I've got a guide. You want me to introduce you? Like, yeah, absolutely. The next thing you know, 3 days later, Lance, this incredible mold expert, is at our house telling us about spore counts and what spores to be aware of. And long story short, we're good. But now I have eased myself. My peace of mind is at ease. My children and I are in a safe environment. My wife's in a safe environment. Goal completed. Check it off. Move on down the line. You'll also see personal financial statements. Finalize my will and my trusts. Have 10 family office meetings with my family. Now, my family doesn't nearly have the wealth yet to have a family office. But if we start having family office meetings, we're all going to start to program our mind that we're going to have a family office someday. So I'm going to start those meetings this year. Melissa and I are going to sit down. We're going to review our finances, review our investments, review the people that are helping keep us alive and helping keep the wheels on the tracks. We're going to review our children. We're going to review their schools, our contribution. And we're going to do it once a month. But guess what? Life's going to happen. So I didn't put 12, I put 10. Because this summer when she's in Wisconsin and I'm going back and forth, we might miss a month. And that's okay. But if we do 10 this year, we'll be in a really good spot. Buy one cash flowing business, have 500,000 in deployable cash, employ my kids and put a Roth 401k together for them. So I'm getting really intentional with all aspects of my life because I know now after 10 years of doing this, that what I write down on this piece of paper, I accomplish. Now, the next iteration of this, the next phase of this is to take your goals and make them habits. So for those of you who are readers, one of my favorite books is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, in Atomic Habits by James Clear, he talks about the power of setting habits, small habits, stacking them, tracking them, and holding yourself accountable to them. Not being smart enough to figure this out myself, I said, well, what system does it use? Google it, you'll see a habit tracker. Well, that's cool. I could probably make that. And so the next thing you know, I take it and I now have a habit tracker in my journal. I highlight what month we're in, and then I take some of the key things that I know I have to do very consistently in order to achieve my goals, and I make them habits. So weighing myself as a habit, working out is a habit, journaling is a habit, reading is a habit, cold plunging is a habit. These habits feed my goals, and my goals fuel my vision for my life, which ultimately brings me back to my why. And that's when life becomes limitless. That's when we untap all potential and can actually live whatever life we choose to live. So you take your goals and you make them habits. If you have a number of workouts, track how many workouts you did this month. Set a target for what your percentage is going to be. I know some people on this call, like Aaron West, are incredible at this. It's a part of their morning routine to sit and drink coffee and check off their habits. And I'm telling you right now, it won't at first, but about a month in, this is almost going to feel as good as when you like a Facebook post or you scroll one more time on Instagram or TikTok or whatever those sites are. When you actually sit down with your habits and you start engaging with them, you're going to start getting these little hits of dopamine in your brain. And it's going to fire you off to get up that next day and get that workout so you can come get that check mark. Go read that book so you can come get that check mark. Take your significant other on that date so you can get that check mark. And then all of a sudden what's going to happen is you're going to look at your goal sheet and say, oh my gosh, I'm right on track to hit my goals. And then at the end of the year, you're going to look at your vision and say, wow, I'm right on track to where I need to be for my life to actually be like that 4 years from now, because we're 1 year in. So you start with a vision. You take your vision and you make it goals. Once you have your goals, you take your goals and you make them habits. The last thing I'll say is share your goals with as many people as you possibly can think of. I believe accountability is like the secret underlying sauce to all success. If we hold ourselves accountable and we try to stay in alignment with our word, we find much more success. We find much more freedom in this world. So I share these goals with everybody. And guess what? When I share these goals with people, they come to my aid and say things like, hey, I've got somebody that can do that mold test for you. Like, cool. That just made my life exponentially easier. I hit my goal very easily. I'm able to appreciate that person who was appreciating me. And we're able to help somebody that he knows, likes, and trusts to provide the mold test for us in our house. So I share these goals with everybody. I'm going to answer some of the questions. If you have more questions, feel free to raise your hand. I don't quite know how to answer people, but we'll figure it out. Or just type them in the Q&A section. So the tool I recommend to make the illustrated version, I'm sure there's a lot of really cool AI stuff out there right now. Unfortunately, I'm not sophisticated enough to understand it. So the only tool I know is humans. So I would go on Upwork and I'd find a graphic designer. I'd go online and find some cool pictures of different parts of your vision board you wanted. I'd send them to the graphic designer and say, hey, I want this made into a really beautiful image that looks like a Disney map with all of these features mapped out around the property. And that's exactly what I did. Cost me, again, $300. And then I was so cheap that I got the metal print through a Groupon thing. It cost me like $17. And now I have an 11 by 14 metal print of my vision hanging above my dresser that I look at every single day. We will absolutely share this goal setting template. You know, you're free to make it your own, modify it. It's not rocket science. It's an Excel sheet. It's pretty simple. But we will absolutely share it. This is a fun one for me because so many people see my journal and they think, oh my gosh, where can I buy that journal? Again, I look at what successful people do and I go, well, if it worked for them, it should probably work for me. So what I did was I watched what David Osborne did. At the end of each year, he would go to Barnes and Noble or Office Max or Office Depot, and he would buy a bunch of journals and he would carry them around with him and see which one felt the best. It was almost like trying on a new pair of shoes. Like, let's see which one fits. So in the middle of November, I go to Office Depot. I buy 4 or 5 journals, black one, a blue one, a gold one, a pink one with words, one without words, one with dots, one with lines. Like, I just buy a bunch of journals. And my wife's going to kill me because we have a whole bookshelf in our library of journals. But I just buy a bunch of journals and then I try them on. I carry them around. I see what feels good. And then I go, okay, this is going to be the winner. So this year it was just the simple blacks, you know, lined journal that for me was my winner. And then I start making it my own. So I'll find pictures that I love that inspire me. Picture of my daughter, a picture of my son, a picture of my wife and I completing 29-029, which we did with some of the GoBundance guys, people like Aaron West and Ken Wimberly. Incredible experience because when I have a bad day, I just need that little boost to get out of my rut because I'm not staying in a grave yet. Someday I'll die and I'll be in a grave, but not yet. And so I look for these like little hints, these little God winks, as Althea calls them, these little moments where I can kind of re-inspire myself, reinvigorate my soul, and continue to chase that life I want. So if I'm having a bad day, I open my journal, I look at Bodie and Rylan, I look at Melissa and I accomplishing the mountain after I puked 15 times on the top, and I go, wow, I remember those moments. Those were beautiful. Those were powerful. And then it reminds me like what I'm working on right now doesn't really matter. It's small. So this is just a basic journal from Office Depot. I just cut and paste stuff into it. I have a glue stick. I did have rubber cement, but I left it on the garage floor. My wife ran over it with the car. So now I'm just back to an old glue stick. And I just make it my own. I just make this journal my own and I use it for the year and then I find a different one next year. You know, I knew Aaron would have a good question. So what advice would I give someone who struggles with goals? You know, the advice I'd give someone who struggles with goals is first look really deeply as to why are you struggling with goals. Oftentimes, I think that you don't have a powerful why or a strong enough underlying reason as to why you want to go accomplish that goal. We say, oh, it'd be cool to make 100 grand. I'm going to set the goal to make 100 grand. Well, like, why do you want 100 grand? I don't know, it just sounded cool. Well, do you really think your spirit and your soul is going to go work that 14-hour days for, oh, it's going to be cool? But if it's, hey, I want to give my life an opportunity for freedom of choice, freedom of to do what we want, when we want, wherever we want, with whomever we want, now all of a sudden your spirit goes, yeah, let's go work 16 hours today. We got this. Let's go charge that mountain. So the first thing I would encourage anybody that struggles with a why or with a goal is to find out what your why is. Dig deep. Go to a coffee shop, go on a hike, go into nature, tell your significant other, I need to go spend a weekend alone in a hotel by myself. Go do some work and figure out why. Why do you want all of this stuff? And then what I would encourage everybody to do is set baby steps. So like if you've not been good with goals and you've struggled, don't come out and say, I'm going to work out 285 times because you're going to ultimately end up in a place where next year you're going to struggle with goals. Rather say, hey, I'm going to work out 24 times this year and just see what it feels like when you do those 24 workouts in January and you accomplish it for the year, when you check off that goal and strike through it. See how that feels. And I think once you embrace that feeling of success, that feeling of accomplishment, you will no longer struggle with goals. Now, goals will always be hard. Life's not easy. We're going to fall into those ruts. But the way you get out of them is through having a crystal clear vision for your life, having people in your corner that hold you accountable, and understanding why you're all doing this. Rolando asked a great question. Which planning tools haven't worked for me? So all of the tools that are technology based have not worked for me. I don't know why. I don't know how. I've seen incredible people like Aaron West who have used Remarkables to track all of their goals and their habits. And I'm like, wow, that would be so easy to just have one little thing in my backpack. That looks nice. And I tried it and I'm like, I just am not good at it. For some reason, there's something about paper and pen for me in my brain. It just works better. It clicks better. So the tools that have not worked for me are all technology based. When I'm planning my work schedule, what I actually do, so I run many different companies. I run David Osborne's family office, and then I also run GoBundance. So I have a bunch of companies I'm overseeing, a bunch of opportunities I'm overseeing, and I get a little confused at times. I get a little lost. Well, I was sitting there watching the NFL game one day. This was 2 years ago. And I was like, how does the coach remember all those damn plays? So I Googled it. How does the coach remember the plays? Play calling sheets. So I looked at what a play calling sheet was. I'm like, oh my gosh, 1st and 10, here's my runs, here's my passes. 2nd and short, here's my runs, here's my passes. 2nd and long, here's my runs, here's my passes. I'm like, if I took 1st and 10 and replaced that with business 1, 2nd and short, replace that with business 2, and rather than the plays, I wrote down what plays I'm running inside of that business every week, what would happen? So now I have a legal piece of paper that I carry with me every single week. That's my play calling sheet for the week. I know what plays in each of the businesses we're overseeing, we're calling on any given week. So again, any tools technology based just haven't worked for me. That's a personal thing. I think each and every one of you need to find the tools that work for you, whether it be tech based or paper based, and just lean into it, embrace it. Don't try to change or morph into somebody that becomes tech if you're paper. It just doesn't work. Yeah, some more of my habits. So, I try to do all these consistently every day, but I'd be lying to you if I said I do. Like, for right now, from a workout perspective, I'm 25 out of 28 days. From a journaling perspective, I'm 3 out of 28 days. Reading perspective, I'm 5 plus 4 is 9, 10 out of 28 days. Red lights, 24 out of 28. Cold plunge is 21 out of 28. So, I don't do them every single day, but I know that I'm trying to accomplish these every single day. So I have my weight, I have workouts, I have journal, read, cold plunge, sauna, red light, review my goals, which I think is the most important habit each and every one of you should have. Dates with Melissa, meditate, review my 5-year vision, review my 25-year vision, go to church, and golf. Those are the things I want to track and make sure I'm doing on a monthly basis. Some of those things are spiritual. Some of those things fuel my soul, like golf, which doesn't seem to be working well because of my shoulder, but that's okay. We'll get there. Some of those things are trying to force me to slow down, like meditating. I'm not that great at it. Others of them are reminding me what's most important in my life, which is my wife and my children. So go focus on them a little bit. And then also my health. So those are my habits. Each and every one of you will set your own habits and your own targets. And again, you want those habits to back you into your goals. So when you accomplish a habit, you're also accomplishing a goal. What tips do you have to make a seemingly too big a vision feel real or achievable? So look, I think we as humans, and every person that I've ever listened to from a motivational speaker perspective will tell you this exact same quote. So this is not mine. I'm not that smart. We as humans grossly overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but dramatically underestimate what we can accomplish in 5. So I would encourage you, if you feel like your vision is big or doesn't feel real, is I would write it down crystal clear and I would just read it. Consistency is going to breed confidence. And the more you read that 5-year vision, the more it's going to feel real, the more it's going to feel achievable. When you have a thing like a vision board and you start to see little images of your family or your dog or your house coming to life through that vision board, you're all of a sudden going to start to say, wow, that really big vision I had, that really big goal I had is not that unachievable. I can have that. I can get that. So I think the clearer you get with your vision, the more Disney-esque you get with your vision, the easier it is to accomplish the big vision you set out to achieve because it feels so real to you in the moment. Okay, what was the balance between creating your vision, spending too much time, and just getting something decided? Well, if I knew how to unwebinar this and make this just a Zoom call, I would put you on the spot, Teshra, and really dig into what that question was. But if I really dug in right now, you already know what you want in your vision. You're just afraid to commit to it. So if I were you, I would go find an inspiring place, a place I feel motivated, a place I feel excited, and I would write down what life looks like in 5 years. And I'd carry that with me for a week, and I'd be checking it out while I was at a red light. I'd be looking at it while I was um, getting ready for bed. I'd look at it while I was brushing my teeth and go like, huh, would 12% body fat feel good 5 years from now? Well, shoot, I'm 31% right now. That'd feel great. Cool. Check, we'll keep that one. Would 24 dates feel good? Well, I don't know if I want to be married. Okay, so let's take the marriage thing off of there. Oh, I want to have 2 kids. Well, I wrote down on here 3. Do I want 3? Well, 3 would be really cool. It'd be great to adopt. Okay, cool. Now we have so I would just encourage you to write stuff on paper and carry it around for a week and then go back and refine it. So many people will get lost in trying to create the perfect. Intuitively, you know what you want your life to look like in 5 years. Just trust your gut, trust your intuition, and then sit with that for a week, see if it feels good. If it does, great. Now you can start writing. And if it doesn't, great. Now you can modify and then start writing. Your target is 100%, 100%. So for my habits aren't my target for habits is never 100% completion. I don't think that would be realistic for me. My habit tracker is more of a way to just track what I'm doing in my life and the habits I want to try to do every single day. Now, in a perfect world, I could take my wife on a date every single day. With 2 children and work, it's quite difficult, or maybe that's just a story I have in my head. But that's not something I'm going to do every single day. So, even working out, I'm not going to do it every day. My habit tracker is not to get to 100% completion. My habit tracker is to give me a roadmap of what I'm trying to accomplish this month, and then give me a visual that helps me audit it and see, did I do what I wanted to do or where am I off? If I look at my habit tracker at the end of December, and let's say, for instance, I haven't read my 25-year vision a single time, and then I look back at my goals and go, wow, review my 25-year vision 12 times. Well, I'm 0 for 1. That's not good. So now in January, I can be intentional with that habit, and maybe I'll read it 3 times or 4 times or 5 times, because I'm starting to show my mind, this is what we wanted to do. These are the areas we're missing a little bit. These are the areas we're crushing it, and let's keep going there. So for me, this habit tracker is almost like the check engine light on my car. It's going to help let me know if I'm low on gas, or I need an oil change, or my tire pressure is low. It's going to show me what's going on in my life and help me make quick course corrections, so I don't get to the end of the year and feel stuck or sad, or that I'm not there with what I wanted to accomplish. I'm not a tracker, but I understand it's important. How or where do you track your... So Todd, like you, I was not a tracker. Like, I was not a tracker at all, actually. And there's still times where I'll go a couple days without tracking. Like, it doesn't come natural to me. I'm not great at it. What I did to get good at it, or well, better word is to get comfortable with it, Todd, was I printed out my habit tracker and I put it next to my sink. So every time I brushed my teeth, I looked at my habit tracker. Now, on top of the counter, I had a pen that I could make the marking. So like, I made the path to success for tracking my habits so effortless that it was just second nature for me to achieve it, which is another concept that James Clears talks about in his book, Atomic Habits. Like, if you want to work out in the morning, have your gym clothes packed by the back door, have your lunch already in your lunchbox in the fridge. So when you wake up, you don't have to go, well, I have to pack my clothes and my lunch and all of these things, right? You want to make life as effortless as possible so that you can achieve what you set out to achieve. So for me, what I would encourage you to do, Todd, is start off by printing this piece of paper, laminate it if you're a sloppy toothbrusher. But I would put this next to my sink and I'd mark it up for 30 days and see how I felt with it. I'd probably, if I were you, anticipate the first few days will be great, the middle 15 will be weak, and then the end will end strong. And then month 2, you're going to find the first 7 are going to be great, the middle 13 are going to be bad, and the end's going to be strong. And all of a sudden, that middle is going to get smaller, smaller, and smaller, and you're going to go, wow, I've gotten really good at tracking my habits. So you got to make it easy. So Dustin asked a great question, which is like, how do I include my family in this goal setting? So one of the things I learned early on was you can't force your significant other or your children to set goals if they're not goal setters. But you can train them on how to become goal setters subconsciously. So, my wife, bless her soul, was not a big goal setter. When we first started doing this process, she didn't really like it. She didn't really understand it. She didn't really want to do it. But what I started to do is when I was setting my goals for the year, I would ask her randomly, not like, Melissa, what's your goal? But I'd say like, hey, next year from like, what do you want to do from an adventure perspective? She's like, oh, I want to see Garth Brooks in concert. I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking I hate concerts, but sure, I'm going to make your goal my goal. And so I wrote, see Garth Brooks in concert. Now, all of a sudden, when we go to the Garth Brooks concert, I can be like, how cool is it that we're accomplishing one of your goals? She's like, I didn't set that goal. I'm like, okay, cool. Got it. Understood. Now, fast forward to today, my wife is an avid goal setter. Like the last 10 years, she's gone from 0 to hero. This year, she ran a marathon, a half marathon, did 29:029, launched her own business. Like, and it's not because I said you have to come along with me on this journey and become a goal setter. It's because I showed her that when you set goals and you achieve them, you start to live a life with intentionality, and that feels powerful. And so still to this day, I try to have one of these goals in each of the gardens of my life be my kids' goals or my wife's goals. So, the pre-cancer MRI, that was something Melissa said she wanted to do. I was like, cool, that would be really powerful. Let's do it. So pre-cancer MRI with Melissa. Now we have to go to Dallas to do that. So when we go to Dallas to do that, we'll also achieve an overnight date. So I'm always kind of looking for ways to bring my family along and make their goals my goals, because we're a team. If I'm accomplishing what I set out to accomplish, they better be too, or else I'm going to leave them by the wayside. And that's not something I'm okay with. So that's how I get my family and my kids to buy in. I don't force them to set goals. I just show them the power through having some of their goals be my goals. And again, I don't say, hey, what's your goal, Melissa? But randomly while we're making dinner, I'll say like, hey, where do you want to go next year for vacation? Like, oh, I'd love to go to Hawaii. Like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. 6-hour flight with a 4-year-old and 2-year-old. Great. We're going to Hawaii in April, right? So like, I just look at what she's trying to accomplish in her life through randomly asking questions, and then I make it my goal. And now she feels like she's a part of this goal setting process. But now she also is seeing the correlation between set an intention, make it a goal, go live it, and feel fulfilled. And now she's doing it for herself. I've been struggling with my why. I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, Joshua. So if you're struggling with it, the first thing I would recommend, and my communications coach, Liz Coleman, would appreciate this, is have some space and some grace for yourself. Like, don't recognize that you're struggling with it. Recognize that you're playing with it. Don't recognize that it's hard. Recognize that it's something you're working through. So understanding that finding out your why can be heavy. The favorite thing for me, again, is R&D. Rip off and duplicate. Now, I'm not going to necessarily take your why, Joshua, and make it mine, but I'm going to look at yours and I'm going to go, well, that would be a cool why for me if I did X, Y, and Z too. And so I'll take the whys of other people along the journey and I'll put them all on a piece of paper, and then I'll mix match them, hodgepodge them, and say, I like a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And the next thing you know, I'm like Ratatouille in the kitchen making my own recipes. And now I feel like I found my why. But I didn't have to start with a fully blank canvas because that felt too heavy for me. So I looked it up online. What was Kobe Bryant's why? What was Michael Jordan's why? Steve Jobs, what was his why? How about Bill Gates? Warren Buffett. Like, look at Elon Musk. What's his why? And you'll find it online. It might be true, it might be untrue, but it's going to start to spark some creative juices for you, and you'll start to figure out what your why is. And you're going to know when you find it, you're going to get like that butterfly in your gut sort of feeling like, oh yeah, this is it. I remember why now. Like, this is what I want to do. So Jared, I haven't found a certain place to help write a 5-year or 25-year vision. The method I found is that mind map is the most powerful method for me. And then what I do is I actually put my 5-year and 25-year vision in both my journal and in my phone. So if I'm on an airplane and we're taking off and the pilot comes on and says, please turn your phone into airplane mode, I just flip into my notes and I read my 5-year vision, or I flip into my notes and read my 25-year vision. Or if I'm having a bad day. I flip into my notes. I read my 5-year vision and go, oh yeah, that's what we're working for. Get over this hard day. Let's keep marching forward, right? So for me, it's not necessarily a certain place or that I found to write them, but I have found keeping them in my journal and on my phone so they're very accessible has been the best to review them. And then that method for me, again, is that mind map. I think using that mind map is the most important thing. I mean, for me, I've become obsessed with this planning. So it's like a week-long process for me. My wife and I have a calendar process we go through. We just adopted a new year review process this year, a year planning process this year. So like for me, I like to take my time with this. This is exciting. Like, for me, I'm almost like building the trailer of my movie for the next 12 months. So I get excited by this. I take my time with this. But I mean, I think if you sit down with some intentionality and you put your phone into airplane mode and you don't look at Instagram, you can craft a pretty good vision and a pretty good plan in 2 hours. And each and every one of us has 2 hours to spare. And if you don't think you do, go to settings on your iPhone and look at your screen time and see how much time you're on social media or the news or whatever, and you'll find 2 hours very quickly. I don't log and track on a daily basis. There are days where I go daily, but I would say I definitely do it 3 to 5 times a week. What I find is all of this stuff is in my journal. So I try to make it as easy as possible. So the first thing I'll do is I'll open up my journal and I'll journal. And then when I get done with my journal entry, whatever my stream of consciousness is, I'll flip to the back and I'll update my habits. And then I'll take those habits and I'll add them to my goals. And then I close the journal and keep it put away until I'm ready to look at it again. So when I journal, I'm reviewing often. Like it's pretty rare for me to pick this up and journal and then not review, or review and then not journal. So it's not daily for me, but it's definitely 3 to 5 times a week. And I don't necessarily reflect on my days or what I've accomplished. Like if I have a huge day or something cool like Christmas morning, I reflected on Christmas morning because those are memories I want to have with the kids and remember. 29 that I did with my wife and some other friends, like that was really powerful. So I reflected on that specific day. But most of the time it's like me just checking in with me in my journal. Like that's how I found it best to it. And for those of you who are struggling with journal, like go onto the Google machine. There's a million journaling prompts that each and every one of us can harness. Like it's very, very easy. So if you feel stuck, just go look up a journaling prompt and you'll get sparked. You'll get some ideas. You'll be inspired. But it's not daily for me. It's definitely 3 to 5 times a week. Any advice for your best accountability? So the best accountability is people, peer-to-peer, people like, trust, and respect. If you share this with a friend that you just like to go to the bar and have a beer with, they're not going to hold you accountable. If you share this with your boss, your personal trainer, that friend who's living a big life that you want to live like, and go to them and say, hey, can I get some accountability? I think that's the best form of accountability we can find. So I would encourage each of you to find a peer, to find a friend, quote unquote, not somebody that you can go grab a beer with, but somebody that's not afraid to call you on your stuff and say, hey, Matt, you're not doing what you said you're going to do. Like, oh, thanks, man. Let me check in on that. I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, cool. Let's just change it on your goals then, because that's okay. You don't have to do it, but you said you wanted to do it. So I'm just holding you accountable to that. As the years go, how do I determine when to pivot on a goal? So as the year goes, I pivot as I need to. So again, David Osborne taught me all of this stuff, and he said there's 2 reasons we don't achieve our goals. The first one is we die, which none of us necessarily have control over. And if you die, then you don't achieve your goal. Okay, cool. Like you got a hall pass. The second reason is you change your mind. So as I'm engaging with my goals, as I'm playing with my goals, as I'm marking my goals up, if something no longer fits, I just change it. In 2022, 2022, I wanted to ride a bull. Well, excuse me, 2021, I wanted to ride a bull. Well, December 29th, 2021, I rode a bull, ruptured my Achilles tendon. Well, I was already working on my 2022 year because I start every year in December. And I had a goal of doing 75 CrossFit sessions in 2022. Well, the last thing you're doing after you rupture your Achilles is box jumps. So I went in, I crossed off CrossFit, and I added in swimming. Said I'll swim instead. So, I'm just checking in with myself and saying, does this still resonate with me? Does this still is this still something I want to accomplish? And if it is, then I keep it. And if it's not, I change it. I don't have a favorite day. My favorite time is in the morning. I wake up pretty much every day at 4:17. I'm a little OCD about times. And I love the mornings. Like I love peace and quiet in the mornings. I'll come down, I'll work out, sit in the sauna, sit in the cold plunge, sit in the chair and read, do my journaling, do my reflecting. For me, it's all about where I can find peace and quiet. And with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, that can be hard to find. So for me, it's the morning. It's not necessarily a day, but it's a morning. Um, you know, I definitely Melissa knows what my goals are. Before I finalize these and actually paste them, I give it to Melissa and let her spell check it and correct 13 spelling errors I had. But also I let her like give me some feedback on this. Like, hey, like that's really cool. You want to go to church 24 times, or ooh, I love the idea of dad-daughter trips. Could I do a daughter mom trip? Like, yeah, that's actually something I'd love for you to do. So we collaborate on them, excuse me, and then she knows what I'm trying to accomplish. I know what she's trying to accomplish. And then when all of a sudden she says, hey, I want to go on this health retreat, I look at my goals and say, well, one of my goals is for you to go on a health retreat. One of your goals is to go on a health retreat. Like, go on the health retreat. This is awesome. Go, 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 right? And now I can be that cheerleader for her to help her go out and take advantage of that. Um, daily productivity tips. I think the most important thing from a productivity perspective that you can do is avoid your phone for the first hour you wake up. The most productivity crash I see is when people pick up their phone early in the mornings, start answering emails, start working, start looking at social media, start looking at the news, and all of a sudden you are no longer living the vision you have for your life, but you're living the vision someone else has for your life. So I think the most important thing to do is put your phone down. And then the other thing I think is get movement. I think the more you move your body, the more productive you'll be. Like I think action leads to more action. And so if you think of productivity as action, the more you put your body in motion, the more your body is going to go into action for you for productivity. So I'm a big believer in movement. If I'm feeling stuck or I'm feeling distracted or I'm feeling confused, I get up and I go for a walk, I move my body, do some push-ups, whatever it takes, right? I just have always found that movement for me helps. My why has definitely not fully changed mid-journey, but my why definitely keeps getting more clear. My why involved a lot of doing what I wanted, when I want, with whom I wanted, wherever I wanted from day one. But now it's gotten a lot more clear around like with my family, with my friends, doing cool things, having bucket list adventures. Like it's definitely gotten more clear. And so I guess you could say, yeah, it's sort of morphed, and that is by definition somewhat of change. But I've always kind of kept my eye on that North Star and just got more clear on what that North Star actually looks like for me. How do you handle when life throws you curveballs? I kind of touched on that, Megan, with the Achilles thing. Like, look, again, the only difference between a rut and a grave is how long you choose to live there. So, when life gets thrown at you, guess what? That's called life. It's going to happen until you figure out how to bubble wrap yourself and saran wrap yourself and protect yourself forever. Shit's going to happen. Stuff's going to break. You're going to get hurt. People are going to get sick. You're going to get an offender bender. Like life's going to happen. But you have to recognize that you in those moments have the power and the ability to choose how you respond. And the response is what's ultimately going to lead towards the outcome. When you get in that fender bender, are you going to beat yourself up, or are you going to pop out of the car and say, I am so sorry. Are you okay? You're not okay. Oh, I'm so glad nobody got hurt. It's just a bumper. Let's move on, right? One of my favorite things to say is something my father-in-law taught me. Did anybody die? If nobody died, we're good. Like, I'm not trying to solve the cure for cancer. I'm not trying to launch missiles into space with human bodies inside of it and lives at risk. I'm just trying to live an abundant life. And so as long as nobody dies, I'm good. And I just try to like not get lost in the curveballs. Now they're going to happen, but that's why you then lean on your friends and your family and your relationships to help pull you out. Vulnerability, I think, is the most important thing that will help pull you out. That was why the theme for me last year was vulnerability, because I'm not the most vulnerable person. I don't necessarily always share what I'm feeling or what I'm going through. So I think if you're going through something, don't be afraid to share it, because people will often remind you you're not alone and they too have gone through something. Do I recommend using this process? So yeah, I actually have, we didn't get into that, but if you look at my goals, I actually have 2 pages in the back of my journal. I have all of the gardens for my health or for my life, my personal targets. And then the next page is all of my professional targets. So these are all of the businesses I either own, oversee, operate, or manage. And these are the goals I have for them over the next 12 months. Same thing with my personal life. I have goals for each of the businesses. What do we want to do in revenue? What are we going to do in distributions? How many events are we going to have? Are we going to publish that book? Are we going to hire that capital raiser? Are we going to raise that outside capital? So I would recommend doing the same process for your professional targets as you get this dialed in. I just didn't want to overwhelm people today and freak people out. Yeah, so 25-year vision. I mean, shoot, I'll be 58 years old. So like, wow, I'm 58 years old. I can't believe that we're able to spend more than 20 weeks a year on the road, visiting amazing, cool places, having the grandkids come by and hang out at the house. Like, my daughter's 5, 25, 30. Yeah, okay, she'd be good to have kids at 30. I'm good with that. So you just kind of think through what life would look like when you're 58 and what would have to happen in your life for you at 58 to be looking at yourself at 33 and going, wow, the last 25 years have been incredible. Here's everything that happened. And I just write it down. I just start to have sort of diarrhea of the brain and just start to write stuff down and see what sticks. And if it sticks, great. And if it doesn't, I throw it out. So when I say I track my habits and I add them to my goals. So I actually did this process today. So today I weighed in, wrote my weight down. I worked out, I journaled, I cold plunged, I sauna, I red lighted, I meditated, I reviewed my 5-year vision, and I played golf. So I check all of those off in my habits, and then I flip over to my journal and I put little tally marks next to this. Let me see if you can see it. So you can see how many workouts I've done month to date. You can see how many saunas I've done month to date. Technically it's year to date, but we've only in a month in. And so I put all of these in here. So I take them from my habits and translate them into my goals. It's just like, it's a little bit of belt and suspenders, but it's, for me, it's more of that dopamine hit to just remind myself, like, we're living an intentional life, we're going at it, keep having fun. Oh my gosh, this is a great question. So how do you get away from the mentality of I'll start on Monday or next week? Well, you don't ever get away from it. You just learn how to mute it or silence it or turn the volume very, very far down. There's always going to be a reason as to why you should start it Monday. There's always going to be a reason why you should start it next year. There's always going to be a reason why we'll do that tomorrow. But the question I'd have for you is, what is your competition doing today? What would the best version of yourself be doing today? And who are you to not live that best version of yourself? The thing I always ask myself, again, something I learned from David Osborne, someone's going to do that today, why not me? Someone's going to live that big life, why not me? Someone's going to charter that airplane to take their friends back and forth from Wisconsin, why not me? Someone's going to take their kids on that private Disney tour, why not me? And I do the same thing when I'm like, I'll work out tomorrow. Someone's going to work out today, why not you? Okay, fine, I'll work out today then. Someone's going to get in that cold plunge even though it's 45, why not you? Right? So I just kind of ask my mind questions of like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? Now, if the answer comes up like, I've hurt my shoulder, I can't do that golf, blah, 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 then okay, cool. Now I can make the active choice to say I'll do it next week. But oftentimes the second thought is what I'm looking at. The second thought is what I'm chasing. And so by asking myself that question, I'm able to bury that voice of I'll start it on Monday and remind myself as to why I'm doing what I set out to do. But again, I'm not perfect. There's still days where I'm like, I'm not working out today. I don't want to do it. And I don't work out. And I feel like crap all day and I beat myself up that night. And the next day I work out extra hard. And then the next time when I'm like, I don't want to work out today, I remind myself of what that felt like when I skipped that workout that day. Did I like that feeling or did I not like that feeling? And if the answer was I didn't like that feeling, then I have the power to make a different choice. And the way I make a different choice is from using the awareness around the last experience to choose differently for this experience. Well, clearly I suck at time management because I went not only over the 45 minutes, I went over the hour, which I'm sure most of you blocked for this. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me through social media or email or whatever means necessary. I'm happy to provide some more insight, dive deeper. Look, my goal is to give this tool to as many people as I possibly can because it's changed my life. And candidly, it's changed my family's destiny. I believe that each and every one of us are one generation away from creating generational wealth inside of our families. And wealth isn't just money. Wealth can be health. Wealth can be contribution. Wealth can be all things abundant. And so I have used this process to make the active choice of my generation, me, am going to be the one generation that's going to create generational wealth for the King families to come. And I want as many people that I possibly can give this tool to have it. And I want them to then give it to one person. And if we do that, we can start to make the world a more powerful and more intentional place. And maybe I'll turn off Fox News or CNBC a little bit more, pick up that book and say, I'm not going to live the vision that the media has for me, or that my Facebook ads have for me, or that my boss has for me, but I'm going to go live my purpose. I'm going to go live my mission, and I'm going to go live the life I set out to live. I hope each and every one of you have an abundant, amazing 2024. We're going to start doing more of these calls, more of these conversations that will be free webinar type styles. We'll make sure we can make it more engaging and interactive next time. And I just really appreciate you all logging in, and we'll send the links to the tools for you all to have, the resources for you all to have. Feel free to share this with as many people as you choose. Again, I think we all have the ability to create generational wealth if we make the choice. Hope you all have a great 2024.